Mr. and Ms. Orsak, who's going to speak first?
I will speak, James Orsak.
Okay, so little ground rule before we get started. The way these things go, I'll swear in the petitioner, I'll hear from the petitioner, maybe both petitioners, then I'll swear in the respondent, and then I'll hear from the respondent. Following that, I'll make a determination one way or the other as to whether or not an order should be entered. And so just as basic ground rules, I want all comments directed to me, not to the other party. Don't want you to interrupt our other party. Chances are you're going to hear things you don't like. You're going to hear things you disagree with. I'll give you a chance to respond to all that, but I don't want any back and forth between the parties as these cases proceed. We are streaming live, and just want to let you know that as well. And so, Mr. Orsak, could you raise your right hand, please?
I do.
You can put your hand down.
Yes.
And I will hear from you. How is it that you need an order against Mr. Ston?
As time's gone on, he's gotten more volatile and hostile towards me and my family. And on November, I received a phone call from him. He was irate, loud, very upset, lashing out at me verbally, and threatened to, when I got home, he was going to kick my ass or shoot me. And I couldn't talk with him much more. As I was driving, my wife had the phone on speaker, and I had her hang up so that I could come home and maybe handle this in a better way than over the telephone. And the circumstances have not gotten better since talking with him.
What else has happened?
And so we feel that
these circumstances haven't gotten better. Did anything happen after that phone call?
Just talk with other people and stuff that the comments he's made and stuff, he's still been threatening and stuff towards myself. I've spoken with him on 3 times and not got satisfaction from him on anything. There are other circumstances involved too, of lots of things that he has taken from my property and been on my property without permission. I have pictures of videos from my surveillance and things like that don't feel safe around with him coming around, and the volatile actions and I mean his attitudes and stuff, and the screaming and ranting and raving. He gets very irate.
Do you live next door to each other?
Yes, sir, we do live. We are neighbors.
How long have you lived down there?
I've lived here since around 1990.
How long is he?
His father lived there.
I guess I'll ask in a minute.
Okay, his father's lived there for a while before Ricky moved in. When his father passed away, I used to caretake for him for years, and then now that he's passed away, Ricky has the property, and I've helped him on lots and lots of numerous things, repairs at his house, his electrical, his plumbing, things like that, cars, lawnmowers, and it's gotten out of hand. I don't understand where he's going with this, but he's very irate, very volatile, hard to talk to.
And then, okay, so Ms. Deborah Orsak, anything do you wish to do?
Yes.
You wish to testify? I can swear you in and hear from you. If you have, I don't want you to repeat everything your husband just said, but if you have anything you wish to add, I'll hear from you.
Sure.
Raise your right hand, please.
Yes, sir.
I'll hear from you. What's your position on all this?
Yes, I was happened to have the phone on speakerphone, like he says he was driving, and the phone call went on for quite some time, and it was it was an eerie feeling for me to know that my husband's getting screamed and yelled at while we're trying to vacation, and from an agitated, angry, volatile person that I didn't understand where it was coming from. It wasn't like this before we had this problem. We were friends, and I just don't get it how he can just go off and yell and scream at my husband and say that he's going to just kick his ass when he gets home, or he'll just shoot him. It was kind of a bad feeling to have to spend 4 months on a vacation, to enjoy a vacation, and come home to this. It's pretty much the same.
So were you out of state? Were you guys out of state when all this happened?
Yeah. Yes.
And I'm not asking where.
When the phone call happened.
Yeah. All right.
Yes. We were out of state when the phone call happened. And so I've seen him do this to his own father, yell and scream and rant. I've seen him do it to numerous other people. So I didn't think it would happen to us, but it did, unfortunately.
Well, let me hear from, I'm going to swear him in. I'll get his perspective on all of this. So, Mr. Staton, could you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear and affirm the information and testimony you provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, I'll hear, you've heard, they're requesting, an order that says that you just folks aren't to communicate with each other. So what's your position on that?
I agree with not communicating with each other, but I've never blown up at either one of them.
Okay.
Jim, I had his car in my garage for the whole time they were gone, a 65 Ford Ranchero. I put it outside the garage when I knew they were going to be home, and literally come on my property without my knowledge and took the car.
Well, it's his
Grant, it's his car,
So what's,
but he never notified me.
okay.
I had another neighbor do the same thing, take something back that belonged to him. All you gotta do is ask.
Alright.
I mean, it's yours. I'd give it back to you. As far as me owing him for anything, no. I sold a lawnmower to a friend of his. Jim was given $400 of that 1,000 I sold the mower for. Larry gave me 600 of it, and Jim was to give me the other 400 back. I was going to start selling firewood. We've been involved in a lot of deals. There's another order, which is a different case, but claiming that every deal that we've ever had, we've done from start to finish. As far as me threatening them, no, I've never threatened them. I took and went over. I seen Sue at a mailbox one morning since they've been back. I said hi. I went over. Sue was on the front porch. I gave her the key for the Ranchero. I said, here's the key for the Ranchero. I had a conversation with Jim since he's been back. He came over to my property. We discussed what he claims I owed him for the firewood and what he owed me. One other conversation.
Did that get straightened out, or how did that end?
He said it boiled down to that we agreed that I owed him $100. I never have paid that. Then we had another conversation where the battery's missing from the Ranchero. Now, I don't remember if Jim took the battery or if the battery was still left there and it's got misplaced. I agreed to replace the battery, which I did. The battery I replaced it with wasn't any good. I've never threatened either one of them at all with guns, knives.
Well, they told me
or
about
anything.
this. Okay, hang on just a second. So this phone call that both of them talked about, what's your perspective on that?
That was about his son. His son was helping me load up the firewood and deliver the firewood that was sold. And me and his son got into it, and I told his son to just leave my property. And Jim said that had told me that his son's very unstable and he's had a lot of issues, and which I've known from the beginning. I just figured I'd give him a chance to make a few dollars. So the discussion we had was more about his son than anything else. It wasn't, I didn't threaten either one of them. I didn't threaten to kick his butt. None of that.
Okay.
I just wanted to live in peace. I want to be left alone.
Okay. And then the last question I'll ask you, it looks like, and then I'm going to go back and speak with them, and then I'm pretty close to being ready to rule here. All right. So he says that he's got pictures and video of you coming on their property. What say you to that?
There's a mutual friend of ours, a gal that I've invested in a business. We all work for the same lady. With this restraining order, I can't even attend to a business that I've invested in.
Why not?
Because if there's a restraining order, I can't be within 50 feet of them.
Well, no. Well, see here. Okay. So I'm going to hear from them in a second, but I looked at the temporary order. You guys live right next to each other,
Correct.
right? And so I can't, and I'm not gonna enter an order that prevents you from having any access to your home or anything like that. So what the temporary says and what typically happens is basically you're just not to contact him, don't communicate with him in any way, and stay off his property. And so, and then if you can communicate with somebody else when he's not around, that's, or when they're not present in the room or whatever, there's nothing to stop you from doing that. So I'm going to get back, okay, but is there anything else you wish me to say, or I'm going to hear from them? And then if you have anything you want to say, I'll hear from you and then I'll give a ruling.
Well, I was reading the restraining order and it says I'm to give up my guns. It says I'm to take a mental health evaluation.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, I have to look at, I don't think that was ordered. That might be in the petition.
Okay, well, I was reading it in here and
Okay.
I've got a CDL. I'm not about to jeopardize a felony and lose everything that I've ever worked for or what my dad's left for me.
Okay.
It also says that I'm supposed to pay the court costs and lawyer fees and all, or whatever's
Okay,
entailed in all this.
I could eliminate the suspense on that right now. That's not going to happen. Okay. So the only thing that's in front of me is whether an order is going to be entered or not, which right now. And so I've heard from you. Now I'm here from, and again, Mr. or Ms. Orsak, do either of you have anything you wish to say? In
Yes,
response to
I
what was
submitted.
just by Mr. Staten. Go ahead.
Yes, I submitted more evidence with the neighbor's testimony in the packet on page 4, and my son's testimony of when he was yelling and screaming at him in the packet. You have that?
Yes, I saw it. Yep, I saw it.
In evidence there.
Yep.
Okay, we have those testimonies along with that, and some of the things that Mr. Staten has admitted to the court here. I don't agree with some of the things he said. You know, they're taken out of context and things like that. He is not part of what my wife works, is one of the issues I have with. He is a silent partner with the lady my wife works for. He invested some money for future plans of hers. He has nothing to do with the business that my wife does. And we'd like to keep him still clear of her work area. I believe he is capable of harassment and things like that. So.
Okay, hang on just a minute. Some people walk in and want to find out who they are. What case are you here for?
We're here to observe case for
I'm sorry?
to observe case for Jenna Brown.
I think you might be in the wrong courtroom, which is why, give me a minute and we'll figure out where to send you.
Yeah, he'll be in courtroom too.
Go to courtroom number 2, and you might want to let them know they're coming, because I know that when I was getting ready for this calendar over the weekend, there was some cases at 9:30 that shouldn't have been here, and apparently they've been transferred off. Sometimes they get transferred into the future, but you might want to check in with someone over there to make sure that that's going to be heard, but we'd be in courtroom 2, then you may go. So here's what's going to happen today, Mr. Staten, Mr. and Ms. Orsak, right? So how long have you lived there? Your father's probably owned that place for quite some time.
He was there, I believe, 7 years, and I moved out there 3.5 to 4 years ago to take care of my dad.
Okay.
It was 93.
And then it's kind of unfortunate that things apparently at some point, well, if they're storing cars on your property, used to get along at some point. Is that
We
fair
get
to say?
along great. I've helped Jim do projects. Jim's helped me. He's made pies. Been over there for Thanksgiving dinner.
All right.
I wish we could have just been friends, been neighbors. But I guess one too many deals just spoiled everything.
Mr. Orsak, I'll give you the final word here. Anything you'd like to say at this time?
Yes, Your Honor. I'd just like to keep our home secure, and he seems to be progressively getting worse. One thing I might add, the phone call we were talking about had nothing to do with my son. It had to do with sales of firewood that we have. Our other case that is pending right now. I'm just not sure on how to handle him. He seems to be progressively just getting worse and worse with his attitudes and his actions and things like that. And I'd like to feel comfortable in the neighborhood. I've lived here for a long time. The neighbors and all of us, we all get along. We all do share birthdays, holidays, and things together. And it seems to be a thorn in my side with Ricky after the last year here. He's gotten very out of control attitude. And I'm not a doctor or nothing, but I think he does need some kind of help, possibly. That's all I have to add to, sir.
So based on the testimony, I've heard from Mr. and Ms. Orsak, there he'd submitted some statements from some others. I've heard from Mr. Staten. Based on the testimony I've heard, I will find that a pattern has existed as such, so a no contact order should be entered. So I'm going to enter an order that's going to exist for 1 year. The only parameters of this order are, Mr. Staten, is you're just not to talk with them, you're not to communicate with them, and you're not to come onto their property. Don't engage in stalking behavior like following them around or, keeping them under video surveillance or anything like that. And that's it. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
The order will be in place for 1 year, and then the default entry on these orders is 1 year, and so that's what it's going to be. You understand? So you're just not to say not to look at them, but don't. Chances are you may glance that way, but don't stare down, don't do anything, and you're just not to communicate with Mr. and Ms. Orsak. It's kind of unfortunate that a period of time you apparently did be able to get along, but that apparently has ended, and so it's best you just stay apart from each other.
I have
and if they want to review the case in a year or extend it, they can, but maybe, hopefully, within a year there'll be a cooling off period and things can go back to the way they were. But I can't predict the future. You were going to say something.
Yes, sir. I do have a question. I cut a tree down and the tree landed on the fence between me and Orsak's place. I still need to repair that fence. And I'd like to do without any
Okay, so
problem.
is the fence on your property or is it a joint fence?
It's
Or
a joint fence between us.
okay, and then so it's run right on the line.
Yes.
Were you just going to repair it on your own without them or what?
Yes.
Okay, so Mr. Orsak, you heard what he said?
No, Your
I just wanna
Honor.
hear from you.
No, Your Honor, this is part of the other lawsuit I have. The fence is 2 feet on my property. I installed, 15, 20 years ago. And he knows that it is on my property. His father knew it was on my property. And he did fall a tree on that. And that's part of a second case going on here. And I've already got estimates in and submitted.
So that fence is going to have to,
Nothing there.
yeah, you're going to have to, is that is that an issue? He said second lawsuit. Which
Yes, it's going to be litigated.
To you or hang on just a second, Mr. Orsak. Are you familiar with what he's talking about?
I've got papers.
Okay, so you're just going to have to let that get sorted out through that.
All right. And I did check property line. The
Okay.
fence is
I
actually
can't,
on.
if there's property dispute, that has to take place in Superior Court.
Yeah.
And if there's, you're going to have to resolve that there. But on this case, again, you're just not to communicate with them. You understand that?
No problem.
I hope not. I hope there won't be. We can make a copy of this for you. And then once you get that, you can go.
Okay.
And then a copy of it will get sent to you.
Also, Your Honor, I am concerned about my wife's workplace still. That it was on anti-harassment order 2 that he's not to
Right.
go on.
It's checked
to
on. He's not to come onto the workplace or the residence. It says it there. Good luck.
Okay, Your Honor.
Sorry this all
Thank
fell
you. I'd
apart.
like to feel safe. Thank you.
Thank
Me
you.
too. I'm very sorry. You have a good day, sir.
Good luck, sir.
So my question is, what if I get accused of doing something or not?
Well, then that's going to be up to a different court to figure out. The best advice I can give you there, Mr. Orsak, is just be careful. Or Mr. Staten, I'm sorry, you're Mr. Stasak, they're Mr. Orsak. Just be careful.
Yes, sir.
And if you
I'm pretty much there by myself,
Right.
so literally I have no witnesses. I could be accused of anything.
Well, there are some things you can do to protect yourself. You can have surveillance cameras on your own property, which keeps track of what you're doing there. And again, if you live by yourself, that's one thing. I mean, I don't, believe it or not, and you might not, the Orsaks don't strike me as someone who's out looking to get you into trouble. They just kind of want to be left alone. And from your perspective, maybe you didn't raise your voice at them, but their perspective is different. And I think if you can successfully stay away from them, I think you'll be fine. Good luck. You folks are free to leave the Zoom call.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so of the Mainas, Who's going to speak first?
I'll speak first, and then my wife will fill in the gaps, Your Honor.
Okay. Could you raise your right hand, please? How is it you need an order against Mr. Richard?
Okay, I'll start from the beginning.
That's a good place.
Okay. So, there was extramarital affairs between Mr. Richard and my wife. Mr. Richard and myself were in the armed forces. He was active duty. I was National Guard. So I came to find out about the extramarital affair, and I contacted my superiors to find out what the best course of action would be. So an investigation was started on Mr. Richard. We were interviewed. He was interviewed, and a no contact order was initiated between Mr. Richard and my wife. Since then, Mr. Richard has gotten out of the military. And just after he got out of the military, he decided to visit my premises or our premises, where we do have several vulnerable adults. And he was seen on camera, and there's a video recording of him knocking and asking for me. And just to take a step back, when he got wind that I was going to start an investigation, he mentioned that if I did go through with starting a investigation on the military side, he would pay me a visit, so to say. So when he got out, I think of just to illustrate how calculating Mr. Richard is, he decided to find an apartment minutes from our house, and he's been to my residence in the past. So he found an apartment right next to our house, and then he decided to show up to our doorstep and I guess start asking or looking for me. And at that point, I reached out to our military supervisors or superiors because we didn't know he was out. And so they say there's nothing they could do since that was like a military no contact order, protection order. And they advised us to pursue things on the civilian side. And so that's when we decided to reach out to the Lacey Police Department and find out what we could do to protect ourselves and our child and the people who live at our residence as well, because he just doesn't seem to want to move on or to continue with his life. So we were granted the temporary protection order, and then we were required to show up today to have a court hearing. My wife can, add in the pieces where I've left out.
Ms. Maina, could you raise your right hand? Go ahead. What's your position on all of this?
Well, the last time that I had contact with Mr. Richard, I asked him to just let me be, let us be, to let it go. I knew that he was upset because my husband was seeking information on how to go about investigating the fact, because he was a sergeant in the military. So I know that he had put a lot into his career, but he has 5 kids and we have a 1-year-old. And so I kind of just reminded him to just let it go because we have kids and it's not worth it. Like, what has happened in the past has happened in the past. It's not worth the stress. And I'm also pregnant now. So I don't want him just showing up or thinking that he has a place. Like, I don't feel like a conversation needs to be had. Like, what has happened. He was also married. And we took 2 different approaches. And so I'm concerned about the safety of the people that live at the house, because I know that there's emotions involved, but also I'm again worried about our families.
the amount of emotional stress that it's caused my wife and I is tremendous, to say the least. We just want the guy to stop and to move on with his life, which he seems to have a hard time of doing. And I don't think it's an accident that he decided to choose an apartment minutes away from our house, or I don't think it's an accident that he decided to show up at our premises at our door immediately when he got out. It's something that he has been thinking about, something that he's been patiently waiting to do, which is what is worrying us because we don't know what else to expect. I think it was fortunate that I was not at the premises when he showed up. And I didn't, to me, I thought, it's something that the protection order was put in place, I think September, October last year. I thought that would be the last time we would hear of him. But he just seems vengeful.
Let me hear from him, get his perspective on this. What's your perspective on what they're requesting?
Honestly, I think it's not warranted. Josie and I kind of made a plan to be together when I got out, and then they got married or whatever. Even with the military like no contact order side, she was still contacting me. She would still call me. And throughout this period, even when they went to Canada, she called me after getting back. In October, I left for a training event about a month long. She did contact me then. After that, the next time I believe was March, as early as March 27th. And I just wanted to
March
have a
27th, as in like a
conversation.
month ago?
Correct, sir. I just wanted a man-to-man conversation with justice. That's really it. I have no issues like letting it go. That's like whatever, like they go, be happy. I'm happy where I'm at. And the whole reason why I chose this place is just because it was cheaper rent.
So Ms. Maina, Mr. Richard just told me you're reaching out to him as late as a month ago?
He's been in contact with my coworker, my boss. He's been messaging my boss, and my boss has been telling him, like, he asked her, should he move down to Lacey, Olympia area to be closer to me? Like, is the plan still on? And she did not give him any indication that he should move down that way. She's stuck to exactly what I've said. I'm married. I made my decision. That's who he's been in contact with, is my boss.
Guess the question is, do you have contact with him?
Yeah, he's telling me that you reached out to him, is what I heard.
No.
Okay, and so Mr. Richard, how did she reach out to you? Like a text?
Block number and then an Instagram account. Do you want me to share my screen with you?
I don't know that you can. The Instagram, what did the Instagram, I mean, what was the nature of the reaching out?
It was harmless. It was about a song.
How close do you folks live to each other?
He literally moved to the apartments behind. It's the same block.
And you're out of the military now there, Mr. Richard?
Yeah, I am. I just work and go to school.
No.
I didn't.
Okay, so hang on, ma'am, we're on the record here.
Okay.
You were going to say something though?
No, my husband said that you had asked me a question. I said I didn't hear the question.
How long has the military order been in place?
Since the end of September.
When did you get out of the military, Mr. Richard?
The 3rd. And
Of April?
the 3rd of April, sir. And I did tell Josie that I would stop by after I got out to apologize to her dad for everything, and then also just want to talk to Justice, man-to-man conversation. That's it.
When did you tell her this?
Told her in the summer, over the summer, September, last month when she called. And
She's saying she called you on a blocked number?
yeah, she would always call on a block number, sir.
Admit telling me this didn't happen.
No. He has said it in the past. He has said that he was going to come back. We did have a plan. He was going to leave his wife, but that started too.
Hang on, no. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about. Okay. Hang on just a minute. What song, Mr. Richard, was referenced?
Same Way. The song name is Same Way by Milo XO.
Okay. So here, I'm going to read the definition of harassment to all three of you here. And so these are anti-harassment orders. You know, there are certain things I need to find in order to enter an order. And here's the definition of that: is a knowing and willful course of conduct directed at a specific person which seriously alarms, annoys, harasses, or is detrimental to such person and serves no legitimate or lawful purpose. The course of conduct must be as such would cause a reasonable person to suffer substantial emotional distress and must actually cause substantial emotional distress to the petitioner, or the single act of violence or threat of violence directed at a specific person that seriously alarms, annoys, harasses, or is detrimental to such person that serves no legitimate or lawful purpose. So it can be a single act. It can be a series of acts over a period of time. And if you were paying attention to that case that we just had here, we had a case where one person, and I have to, it's not uncommon for me to hear two different versions of, the same set of facts, but basically one person said, I'm going to come and, kick your head and kick your certain part of your anatomy, as well as other things, which I found to be threatening. And so I entered an order. With regard to this case, and again, the military, they may have their own standards, but listening to all three of you at this point, I don't find, and I don't sound any allegation that Mr. Richard has made any sort of threats or threats of violence or anything like that. It does make me scratch my head a little bit that he's moving close to you, but that's not a threat of, may make you uncomfortable given the state of your relationship, but I really can't find that's, a threat of violence at this point. And so, and he did come over at one point. Apparently there is evidence of that, but again, coming over to talk or hash all this out and talk man to man, that's not, again, I said, I just can't find, it's a long way of saying I can't really get there from here. I'm not going to enter an order at this case based on what's alleged. Now going to you, Mr. Richard, again, even though that I'm finding that it's not harassing now, that may change if this continues. So it doesn't have to be a threat of violence. It's a course of conduct directed at a specific person which seriously alarms or harasses. So if you keep showing up, you keep bugging them or trying to reach out and communicate, then, my position on this might change, whereas I would find that harassing. Do you understand that?
Understood, sir.
So folks need to stay away from each other. And so again, I'm hoping that you're both getting the message here right now. So based on what I've heard so far, I'm going to deny the order to extend the order. And but again, if this keeps up, Mr. Richard, again, I can tell the main is you can come back and then we'll take a second look at it. And maybe we come to the point where an order is appropriate, but I'm not going to do that now.
All right, sir.
You understand? Everybody on the same page?
Zero.
Mr. Richard, do you have any questions about whether or not the Mainers want to hear from you at all?
Oh, no, they won't, sir.
Okay. That's it for today. You can get a copy of this off the Thurston County District Court website.
There's something in there, sir, about like legal fees or something.
I'm not awarding that.
Okay. Is that you're not awarding like all
That's
fees?
it. You're free to you're all free to leave the Zoom call.
All right, sir. Thank you. Have a good day.